Around 1995 or so, we decided that piano would be a good addition to the cabin. It would allow Anne to continue practicing through our extended stays up there so that she wouldn't have to start all over again when she returned back to Valpo. There are no piano stores in Kenora, so that meant a trip to Winnipeg. We visited some of the larger stores with pianos and then looked up a smaller place, Andrew's Piano Service. There we found a good piano and a very interesting couple in Andrew and Bonita. You'll see in this show how they have been with us all the time since, tuning the piano every single year. This is the story of how the piano got from Winnipeg to Arene. Here's Andrew with the little Kawai piano that we purchased from him. He's originally from Sri Lanka. He came to Winnipeg a number of years ago, having developed a skill in working on pianos. He worked for 5 years for a larger firm in downtown Winnipeg, and then struck out on his own with the Andros Piano Services. He does tuning, moving, and he rebuilds pianos. A few years later, he sent back to Sri Lanka for a wife, and his uncle found one, Bonita. Bonita came in January from Sri Lanka to Winnipeg, and has been with Andrew ever since. Comes along when they come to tune the piano. Getting the piano from Winnipeg to the cabin at Arene required quite a bit of planning. At the time, we had a small pickup truck with a covered part in the back, and the piano would fit in there, Andrew said, if I were to get 2 tires. These tires should be still on their rims so that they had good support. We could then come to Winnipeg, and he would load the piano into the on its back into the pickup truck, and we could take it back to Kenora. So that's exactly what we did. He then devised a scheme for getting it into the truck. First, we would roll the piano out and, as you see, put it in his larger truck, which was about level with the bed of the pickup. We could then horizontally move it into the pickup, secure it, and be on our way. At the time, we had only a very small boat, so we had to arrange for a barge with a crew of strong men to meet us at the rec center dock and load the piano onto the barge and then head out towards Arene. You can see the barge. It was called the Naval Orange for obvious reasons, approaching the rec center dock. The barge and the crew are secured and ready, so I backed the pickup down the ramp as far onto the dock as I dared so that we could open the back and unload the piano and put it onto the barge. Even a small piano is fairly heavy, but with 4 extra men, we all had a hand on it. We moved it very carefully onto the Naval Orange. We jumped in our little aluminum boat and headed out through the rain, as it turned out, to Arene to prepare for the coming of the Naval Orange with the piano. Anne had been across the creek taking those pictures you just saw, and now she's in the front of the boat looking at the old guy there with his rain jacket on, ready to go out and receive the piano. We beat the Naval Orange back by quite a bit. It made sense to pull up right on the side of the floating dock that I'm looking at, and we could then slide the piano off onto the dock and carry it on up the hill. It worked out all right. The guys are securing the barge here with ropes. The piano is under that blue tarp. They didn't want it to get wet. Of course, we didn't want it to get wet either. And once secure, we could slide it off and start up the hill. We kept the piano covered, as Andrew had it covered in Winnipeg, and up the hill we go with that many hands, it really wasn't too bad at all. Okay, let's set her down first because we have to turn her before we can go up the steps and in through the back door into the kitchen. Then we'll have to go on from there into the dining room, which is where the little kwai is to have its home. The passage was too narrow for everybody to have a hand on the piano as we went through the door, so a couple of the strongest guys took over and just moved it slowly in. Really, there was no problem. The door from the living room into the dining room is a little bit less than 24 inches. The piano just barely fit through that door. And again, you can see that not everybody could have a hand on the piano, so just a couple of guys moved it in barely slowly. This was before the time when we had steps leading from our outside door to the dining room. That certainly would be the way to come now if we had to move the piano at all. The final step, moving it to its place up against the wall, where we could then uncover it, screw on the front legs, and we would be ready for Andrew to come and tune it up and start enjoying our little kiwi. There she is, in place, ready to go. We sent the guys back with a 6-pack of Heinekens, and I think they had a good time on the way back. So from this point on, we'll start talking about how Andrew comes and services the piano every year. Andrew told us when we bought the piano that he would come and tune and service it every year as long as we owned it. Every year before we leave Bloomington, Ann sends Andrew and Bonita a letter stating when we will arrive in Kenora. Our next contact is a phone call from Andrew, often saying, "I'm in Kenora." We arrange to meet at the Safeway docks, usually early the next day. I zip into town for the appointed hour, and sure enough, find Andrew and Bonita at the Safeway parking lot, where they can leave their car for a few hours. We load Andrew's tools and supplies into big boat and head for Arene. The picture shows us unloading at the floating dock, ready to haul the equipment up to the piano in our dining room. Since he's 125 miles from the shop, Andrew brings something for most eventualities. All this must be hauled up the hill to the dining room where the piano awaits. Here you see Andrew and Bonita starting up the hill with a load. These two pictures show Andrew getting ready to tune. The cover is off the piano and the tools are coming out. While he tunes, Ann and Bonita visit and wander about the garden. They have to be careful to avoid mosquitoes, as Bonita is, as we found out one of the first few years, very allergic to mosquito bites. Bonita always brings pictures of her small but colorful garden back of the shop in Winnipeg. I busy myself with my normal chores. The one thing we try to maintain is quiet. Andrew much prefers a total quiet while tuning. He's a wizard with pianos, and the little kwai sounds fantastic when he has spent an hour or so with it. We are fortunate indeed that he continues to come and tune it. In addition to a careful tuning, he will service whatever is needed. After all, the piano endures extreme temperatures during the 7 months we are in Bloomington. Occasionally something major is needed. In the second picture, you see the guts of the piano on the dining room table. I actually got to help put things back together and learned a bit about how pianos work. After the tuning and the music rack is back on the piano, Andrew asks Ann to test it. So she plays a part of one of the pieces that she has been working on. With the table clear, we can then set up for lunch, which Ann has prepared. It is a time we can catch up a bit with Andrew's piano service and any trips they may have taken to see relatives. Occasionally, Andrew's cell phone rings. He's making arrangements for a moving. Moving pianos has become an important part of his business. Bonita and Andrew love to take pictures. when it is time to return them to Kenora for the 125-mile trip back to Winnipeg, there are 2 steps we always follow. 1. Everyone gets in 1 or more pictures. 2. We carry the equipment back down the hill to the boat and then retrace the route back to Safeway parking lot in their car. Getting your piano tuned in the city is a piece of cake. As you have seen, having a piano on the island is more complicated, but with the help of our friends Andrew and Bonita, we are able to enjoy playing and, in my case, listening to a very fine, well-maintained piano.